All I can see is clouds. Heavy grey clouds. They've rolled in over the city and found it so nice here that they've stayed. Mostly they hang there, blocking the sun. Sometimes, though, they give of themselves, shedding their mass in the form of miserable cold rain showers, making waiting for the tram or going to the supermarket even worse than it was before, as now you're cold and wet. For a couple of months, though, you cope. There are strings of coloured lights to guide you through the early months of winter. There is hot booze and the scent of spice and well-being hanging in the air. Then New Year hits, bleak and bleached grey. The trees stand black against the buildings, naked, and people's faces are drained of their summer colour. The muted palette of winter bleeds into you. The cold sinks into your bones and you want to squirrel yourself away until the world starts to live again. This is where I am now, in the part of winter that feels like it'll never end, drowning in thick coats. You can dream, though, of a world with bare arms and the only cold being trapped in a frosted glass. A world where we spend time outside, laughing in groups, not bundled away with nothing but the slurry that falls out of our streaming services. It is this time of year that my mind becomes laser focused on one of the most heartening aspects of this hobby. My weekly game group is wonderful. It is the staple diet of the gamer. You build your muscles and teeth and keep your coat glossy with your weekly game group. Sometimes, though, you need some sparkle in your life to be ripped away from the quotidian into the extraordinary. This is where conventions come in, these unabashed celebrations of this wonderful pursuit. This is what I want to talk about here. When I first got into this hobby, YouTube was my university. I sat glued to Watch It Played, The Dice Tower, Rado, trying to learn as much as I could about this arcane folderol that I'd stumbled into. The Dice Tower especially talked about conventions a lot. To a large degree, I was formed as a gamer by this collection of geeks down in Florida. That is why it was such an honour to eventually work for them and become friends with them. You wouldn't be watching this if it wasn't for the Dice Tower. One memory really sticks in my head, though. I was cycling from Berlin to Copenhagen, wheeling along the summer bike paths, whirring by Brandenburg canals and stopping in roadside beer kiosks. I was listening to the Secret Cabal, and they were regaling the digital audience with their recent trip to Origins. It had been a while since I felt so fired up. All I wanted to do was attend one of these events, to learn their arcane secrets. I was new to the hobby, my toes barely damp. I had a small collection and was forming a game group, but I felt like to be a real gamer I had to attend a convention. I made a pact with myself on that bright summer day that I would get to a convention by the end of the year. Now, this was some undertaking, because this would result in actual involvement in something, and that was a new experience for me, because I'd spent the last 15 years being cool. Being cool is so important when you're young. It's replaced by status when you get older, which is very similar but more attached to square meterage and horsepower than being able to list all of the members of Faith No More. The thing about being cool is knowing just how much to be into stuff, and that is not much. A surfeit of excitement or dedication to something will be mercilessly derided when you're young, unless it's sport for some reason. The kind of slavish dedication to the changing of numbers that would have your head flushed down the bog if it was concerned with anything else is applauded with sport. It's the one hobby you can have when young that won't get you branded as lame. I spent my 20s and half of my 30s taking stuff, drinking stuff and standing in bars I hated, surrounded by recruitment consultants who were really DJs and pretending I liked it in the vain hope of attracting the attentions of a woman and being thought of as cool. That meant that I spent many years aimlessly drifting through shitty jobs and even shittier weekends with a sore head and nothing to get my teeth into, nothing to explore and discover. My curiosity was starting to ossify, and if I hadn't been bitten by the gaming bug, I can still imagine myself propping up neon-lighted bars, pretending to like music I hate and trying to insinuate myself into conversations with people I find odious. There is no chance on Atheismo's flat earth that I would have thought of attending a convention for anything. This is one of the advantages of getting older, though. You can luxuriate in really getting into stuff, and it doesn't matter one iota if people think it's beneath them, because it's not their thing, it's yours. Also, I'm poor, so vintage cars and guitars are out of the question, but games are a very accessible form of art, and they put you in direct contact with others, and they have the best bloody conventions. And you can take my word on that, because wonderfully, I'm a veteran at this point. So I'm going to talk about a couple of conventions here. My first one, back in 2012, I realised was just down the road from me, a little convention in the industrial heartland of Germany. This would be a great place to go and see if I was into this whole convention thing. So a couple of weeks before, I booked a cheap hotel room, got a bus ticket, and headed to... spoken a lot about Essen Spiel on this channel, and it's little wonder. Some of my fondest memories in gaming have been forged here. From drunken odysseys with people whose names I'd only seen on boxes before, to being there to snag the early copies of some of the biggest releases in the art form. Essen has been a central part of my journey through gaming. I went there on a whim and was engulfed in games for 4 days. There was no doubt that I had to get to Essen every year, and apart from that little issue we had a couple of years ago, I have. It is the central experience in gaming. The size, the colour, the variety of games and people. What strikes you when you walk through those doors is that Essen Spiel is the sun around which the gaming universe rotates. A glorious revel in the world of games, a bacchanal of mechanisms and minis. My experience with Essen has changed over the years. I go there to work now, but the wonder of the convention still remains. That feeling that you're at the cutting edge of this art form. All of the big publishers come here. All of the most important designers and artists come here. Last year was the first real Essen after the pandemic, and it was back to its bombastic best. It was the best Essen in a decade, and I loved it. If you get the chance to get to Essen, you really should. It is huge and overwhelming, but it's also the mecca of gaming. Everything's here, and if you love games, you'll love Essen. For all my love of the size and bombast of Essen, I never play games there. I work and debauch. I flit around like a pissed up mosquito, only far more annoying. If the idea of a convention for you, though, is playing games, it is bowing down at the altar of games while taking in all the correct libations, then Lariacon is for you. Now, anticipating the potential comments, this one is a bit of a bastard to get to, especially if you're of the North American persuasion. If you can get there, though, bloody hell. You approach the hotel through an undulating landscape ravaged by recent forest fires. Black stumps of trees puncture the sky. Then you go down a dip and are greeted by the smash of the ocean on the perfectly yellow beach. The beach town where the hotel is situated is not much to look at, but enter the hotel and you are embraced by a self-contained gaming paradise. A 2-minute walk and you're in the gaming hall. Another 2 minutes and you're in the dining hall, and another 2 minutes and you're taking moody, pensive walks down the beach. It was the proximity of Lariacon that inspired me to write this essay. It's in 2 weeks. For all of us vitamin-dilapidated Northern Europeans, Lariacon pulls us away from the thoughts of the frigid void into merry madrigals of summer nights and glasses of sangria. You are pulled from the ubiquitous grey of the north and transplanted into a world of colour where shorts exist. Also, you get the opportunity to sit down in a casual atmosphere with some of the biggest names in the industry. Unlike Essen, where everything is a business meeting, here you can have a beer with Inka and Marcus Brand, Mac Gertz, Vital Lacerda. Also, this year, Jason Matthews, Ignacy Trzewiczek and Thorsten Gimler are attending. All of this bullshit aside, though, the real focus of LureaCon is gaming. There is always room to play and people eager to join you, and you can spend your day submerged in games. I divide my day into heavy in the morning, medium in the afternoon and light and puerile in the evening. It is 4 days of being able to truly indulge yourself as a gamer, surrounded by people who feel exactly the same way as you. Also, the organisers are the most generous and helpful people you would ever want to meet. They work tirelessly to ensure your weekend is memorable. There is simply no better board game convention in the world. It is a total experience, and the friends I've made there and the memories I've forged will stay with me for a long time, or until I have a weekend-long bender, whichever comes first. If you have the chance to go to Lurea, go, and we'll have a drink. The conventions in this video have been getting progressively smaller, and this is an event that is propelled by the force of one man, the doyen of British game design, Tony Boydell. It is also a demonstration of the British character packaged into a board game event. An invite-only affair of about 80 people, Gathering of Chums is held in the almost too picturesque town of Newent in Gloucestershire. It is truly the quaintest of the quaint. It starts on the Friday night in the Chippy, and for an exiled Englishman like me who gets damp-eyed at the sight of mushy peas, this is a brilliant start. The weekend proper is held in the back room of an awfully traditional English pub, replete with wall-to-wall carpets, hand-pulled cask ales, blokes in dirty overalls, and the feeling that somewhere a couple of cousins are getting married. I grew up in a rural environment like this, and it floods my memory with the escapades of my misspent youth. The best thing about Chums, though, is the fellowship. It feels like an extended family, all brought together by two things: a love of playing games and a fondness for Tony Boydell. I cannot imagine the pride of looking into a room buzzing with fellowship and realising I did this. These new friendships formed all down to me, all because people like me. I cannot imagine how gratifying this must be. Gathering of Chums is a grand event in a small package. Every year, people meet up again and carry on where they just left off. No awkwardness, just friends sitting around tables playing games together. This is what conventions are, no matter how big. A chance to meet old friends and discover new ones. To meet people who understand your love for this weird little thing that you've got yourself involved in. Sometimes, at Essen, I bump into people I've met at other conventions, and we share a few words and a few memories, connected by a time that we both know was special. There will be a convention near you. It may be small or it may be huge, but if you're into games, you'll find a place there. You'll be able to play the games you love and realise that although there is the very strong compulsion to sit at home, subscribing to streaming services and buying junk, people are okay. And they are the most vital thing in the world. And you'll find them at your local convention. So, go out there and enjoy. Thank you for watching this video. Tell me what conventions you've been to and what you liked or hated about them. You can like the video if you like the video, and if you really liked it, you can sub to the channel. You could buy brilliant merch at sirmeeple.com. And if you want to help these videos get made, you can go to patreon.com/5G4D and pledge to help, like these lovely people. Right, I'm off outside to meet up with a catchphrase.